We are decentralizing the industry. We are reimagining the world.
Is your crypto working for you? It can be with yield farming. But what are the risks? Hacking, volatility, poor smart contracts, scams. Even if you overcome the risks, there are still limitations.
Do you have $1 million to invest? Yield farming is a very complex, time-consuming, and expensive process. Can you imagine that not only you need to possess advanced skills to mitigate your risk and check smart contracts, but also you need to quit your job? In order to get the highest return, you need to manage thousands of platforms and check protocols around the clock. Well, not anymore.
We're proud to announce the Swissborg Smart Yield account. It's now possible for anyone to earn yield on most of your cryptos, such as USDC, Bitcoin, Ether, BNB, and only starting with 10 euros with a tap of your finger. So how does it work? It's simple. On a daily basis, our Oracle scans and monitors all the different investment opportunities and delivers for you the best investment returns.
So how is that more secure? Not only do we assess the best risk-reward ratio, but also your assets are protected by our implicit technology and our safety net program. And how it does deliver return? Well, because our system is scanning the market every single day, you get the optimal return on that day.
How do you get started? It's easy in 3 different steps. The first one, you deposit. The second one, you start the yield program. And the third one, you start relaxing, enjoying your passive income. So guys, you know what to do. Subscribe to the Smart Yields, buckle up, and enjoy the ride.
Dear crypto community and blockchain buddies across the globe, welcome back to Kryptonites, the no OBS blockchain channel built with the community and for the community. And today we have another mind-blowing guest, Kristina, managing editor at Cointelegraph, a lovely lady who just came back from an amazing panel conference here in Dubai. And we're going to give you tons of really cool content. Before we kick off, a shout out also to Crypto Slate. They always create summarized articles of all these interviews so that if you guys want to read it, you can enjoy every single bit. But without further ado, Kristina, it is such a pleasure to have you today. How are you doing?
Thank you very much, Alex. Always great. Hi, everyone. Happy to be here.
Thank you for coming on this show. And I'd love to kick off with a simple story about yourself. We were talking yesterday about how you fell in love with this space, the decentralized movement, Bitcoin. Just tell us something that really got you, the big why that happened to you.
That's a very good question. I've been working a lot in the communications and different innovative industries. I've worked before in the oil and gas sector and banks and all this traditional industries that have great, smart people, but at the same time, they don't have this access availability that we can find in the space. So I think it was kind of a logical, natural step for me to start working with crypto, because crypto is just an opportunity to contact the people who dare to think ambitious ideas and dare to make them happen. That's the thing. So crypto is full of people, and then you meet them, and it's a CEO, it's a billionaire, it's a guy who invented a thing and is trying to change this world. So I think the crypto now is a sector that is changing the world and that has the largest number of people who want to change the world.
It is so true, right? There's so much meaning and depth. And you mentioned a lot of like people. You told me yesterday, for me, more than the technology, it's about the people. And clearly, I can feel you. I can feel that meaning just by that response. And are there any specific people that you said were daring that inspired you along the way? Like people where you think, oh, this person or this talk, or any specific points that really...
Well, I think all the people who you meet in the industry are actually great. And I totally agree that, well, I'm a journalist, so I'm working with people every day. And technology is very important, numbers are very important, but I think the people behind every project, these are the ones whom you either trust or you don't trust. Definitely there are people who create myths about them in the industry, but there are also incredible smart people. I don't want even to name some because maybe my biggest discoveries in terms of human beings were not creators of the famous project, but were some developers or physicists who are working in quantum computing and trying to converge this with the blockchain technology. I think the people here really don't have borders. Crypto people are great. But I would say that I really prefer them after a glass or two because, first they start talking about Lamborghini and all this stuff about food and Michelin stars, etc. And only after some time they start talking about real problems that they want to solve. They talk about politics, about economy, about the freedom of money, about the freedom of people. And that's very important in this industry as well.
That makes a lot of sense. And with regards to Cointelegraph, obviously the biggest platform when it comes to crypto news, 2020, what were some of the highlights of last year? If we look in our rear mirror in the car and you're looking at last year, what are some of the topics, themes, or specific news where you felt, wow, this is super duper cool?
That was an insane year. We have been in a crisis all over the world with all this pandemic stuff and COVID and lockdowns, but people got digitalized everywhere.
Yeah.
Like my grandfather started talking about Bitcoin. That's insane. Yeah, and he actually he now has an Instagram account to follow me because we couldn't communicate. I think that's actually the greatest thing that happened last year. And of course, for the crypto industry, it does mean that the adoption is right here. Like we have PayPal, we have MasterCard today, who announced that it will accept crypto. And I think that is the biggest news for all of us. I mean, there is DeFi boom, etc. There is the Bitcoin's price, but I think it's very important. And I admit that the responsibility of the media is also to educate about this. And the importance, the most important thing that is happening is the real adoption of the technology. It's not about price, it's not about money, it's not about Lamborghini. It's about how we change the world, how we give access to people who maybe before didn't have access to this decentralized technology in different sectors.
So all about the access, is that really, just going back on what you said about 2020, I think it's so true what you're saying. Even my mom, she uses WhatsApp, she now uses Signal, so it feels like this whole crisis, this health crisis really accelerated, just put technology on steroids and just took off like that, right?
We started dancing on Zoom. I actually launched my digital platform for dancing because I missed so much dancing in the beginning, and nobody did that back in March. And then in April, everybody started doing everything online. You remember also in the events business, March was a time when there were no conferences at all. Everything was locked down. And then in April, every day you have a conference. I speak in the morning, in the afternoon. I had a panel once at 3 a.m. I will never do this again.
But it's so true, right? It puts us in a position where you have to be creative, right? And you have to seek for new solutions to solve the current problems. So the mindset changed our mindset a lot, I guess, right?
Yeah, I also think that people started checking sources more last year.
Yeah.
Also on the basis of the COVID thing, if you check the worldometers.com on the statistics of the traffic for that site, that is only stats about the COVID case, etc. It had a boom of, boost 500% of traffic last year because people started to check the sources because they were so overwhelmed by the news, fake news, depressive news about COVID. So they just started checking the facts themselves. And the facts are numbers, and numbers are the most objective facts in the industry, whichever it is.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And so in terms of Bitcoin itself in this space, is it Bitcoin that you're the most interested at the moment? Is it specific projects? Is it an asset class, sub-asset class, exchanges, decentralized exchanges, yield farming? I mean, there's so much in the news. What are some of those specific parts that you really feel that's something that I really like to hear more about or learn more about?
That's a very good question because I think that, especially when we work in journalism. Of course, Bitcoin is the thing that everybody is searching for. But I think that it's very important for the media to create not only clickbait articles. And in my opinion, what is the most interesting is the application of the blockchain technology. Could it be in the healthcare industry, in I don't know, wine, in the art business, in providing access to the unbanked. So that's the thing. I mean, I think Bitcoin is just like a name that became so popular all around the world. I remember in Davos at the World Economic Forum 3 years ago. It was January 2018, so just after the boom of the price. And everybody was talking about blockchain, but they decided that the community of the World Economic Forum preferred not to combine these two concepts, phenomena. Blockchain is not Bitcoin and Bitcoin is not blockchain. It's not true, actually. But so for me, Bitcoin is an opportunity to talk about blockchain in general, because Bitcoin is the most famous use case of a blockchain network, and it's simpler maybe to explain. But there is so much behind. Yeah, you mentioned, well, exchanges, it's in the financial industry, but blockchain actually can be applied with whichever data we want, and that is very important.
Would it be fair to say that in that case, you talked about healthcare, you talked about art, collectibles and stuff like that. Is it fair to say that you're interested in NFTs? Is that one of those?
That's definitely one of the highlights of the last year. Yes, that's very interesting. Even though, like, I personally don't want to own any NFT for the moment. Like, nothing caught my attention so much. But I think that's I would be even maybe idealistic, a bit ambitious, what I say, but I really dream of a moment when all the art, the natural, the historical heritage, for example, of the Italian country where I live, will be tokenized, because I think this is the way to save this cultural heritage that we have, because in Italy we have more art and architectural wonders than we can permit ourselves to keep.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And because you're so much into people, this really leads me to a question which I'm sure you'll be interested in. What about tokenization of people, of celebrities, of football players, Lady Gaga, Justin Bieber, all these things? Do you think that's a cool case or a cool use case of the blockchain? Because you're saying, like, Bitcoin is cool, but I want the blockchain to have other real world use cases. Is that a use case that you find interesting? Because, you know, when VC people invest in a company, they usually say, we invest in the people first, right? So why not just invest in a token? Like, if you feel like, okay, Justin Bieber is going to sell, 10 times more albums in the future, you can buy his token and sell it later. No, is that a bit too far-fetched?
That's a very great question. Yeah, actually, I think that would maybe not to tokenize parts of people. Maybe J-Lo already.
That would be so funny.
But I think it could be quite popular, yeah.
That would be super popular.
People are what can be solved, because the others want to identify themselves with people.
Yeah.
And if we have a person who represents a project or a technology, I think that's actually the case, a very important case for the blockchain industry. When we have a celebrity who enters the space, it becomes a news in all the media, in all the social media. And yeah, we need more celebrities involved.
Which sector do you think would be the most popular? In Italy, you have football players. Would it be a singer? Like, for everyone to use the blockchain without even knowing they're using the blockchain, is there a specific type of person that you think would tokenization that would? Right now, like, there's a really cool project called Chili's, and they're actually tokenizing football clubs. Like, so you can own tokens for the Real Madrid and stuff like that.
Yeah, that was, I think, the largest application in the sport industry last year, football. So I wish I would see this in other sports as well, rugby and I don't know, figure skating, and Olympic Games could all be tokenized as well.
And so in terms of we talked about 2020 and some of the highlights and news that you were personally interested in. What about 2021? Is there anything in particular that you look forward to? Anything that you think that Cointelegraph will probably cover, because this seems to be like it's trending or will trend in the upcoming 6 to 12 months?
So many things happening now. Like, we are still in February, right? And already, we had Elon Musk who entered space. That's crazy. A tweet that changed the history. We have real adoption with the Mastercard. We have very interesting regulatory things that have been happening. Though I would like to say that there was Cointelegraph Top 100 that has been released yesterday. Cool. And one of the people featured there was Hester Peace, the SEC commissioner. And I hope that she was pleased that she was featured. She was 20-something number. But she wrote a tweet reposting the Cointelegraph Top 100 saying that I wish the day will come when any top 100 or 50 blockchain notable people will have no regulators in it. And that's a very interesting thing in my opinion, because we are decentralizing the industry. We are reimagining the world. And regulation is very important, but regulation is given assistance to the sector.
Yeah.
But it's not that regulation is actually changing the idea of the space. And the idea of the space is decentralization.
Yeah.
So yes, this for sure adoption, experiments on the national levels as well are very interesting. Central bank digital currency, something that I'm really following a lot. So a lot of cool stuff is happening.
That's a really good point, like the whole regulatory aspect. Can we do something completely without the lawyers and the regulatory frameworks? And so people are actually scared of it. Like I remember Joseph from Shift Network, he came on the show and he said basically that he was concerned about DEXs, right? Like the regulatory or the regulators going after the DEXs and shutting some down this year, but hopefully let's keep it positive. And speaking of positive, the conference yesterday, you moderated a panel, which was very nice. It was technical, but it was also human. It was you kept it out. It wasn't too intense, too geeky. And you ended with a very nice quote, right? So I'd love you to share that again, because obviously maybe we don't have the footage out there. So can you tell us what was the conclusion of that panel?
Thank you, Alex. I appreciate that a lot. I think that the most important thing that we have in the space is human beings, and the language that we all speak. It can be English, it can be French, it can be Italian, it can be Arabic, and everybody has his own background and his own situation in his country. But what really unites us all are, in my opinion, two things: and numbers and code. This is something that is universal. And also our eyes, shiny eyes, when you really can look into the eyes of a person and look to the world through the eyes of another person. That's very important. So we can speak English, we can speak whichever language we want, but our eyes always tell the truth.
That's a really good point. If you guys agree that the universal language is code, is something that connects us, no matter the background, no matter the language, the ethnic background, anything, please agree, or please feel free to agree in the comment section below. If you have any other angles, share that as well.
Free also to disagree.
Yeah, feel free to disagree as well. Yeah. That's why I was laughing. I was like, feel free to agree. I'm like,
because actually it's interesting. Because, I don't know, do you understand code?
I can read a little bit, just the basics. Python,
Python. My grandfather definitely can't read code, so maybe it's not as universal as it is, but he definitely can learn it. Well, Daddy and grandfather, please start coding.
Start coding. There's some cool games for that to learn how to code, But it's been an absolute pleasure having you, Kristina. Like you've been really like a sunlight at the conference for the past 2 days. Giving your utmost during the conference and talks. Anything else that you'd like to share with the community before we
I love you. I love you, crypto community. Really keep being so great. Thank you very much.
We'll put also your Twitter feed below so people can follow you. You post some cool stuff as well. You need to be a little more active. We need to see more.
Okay, but, I need to work less and tweet more. Okay.
I don't think Jay would be happy. You guys had it there. So this is Kristina, the managing editor at Cointelegraph. Super cool girl. You'll probably bump into her in one of the conferences, either as a moderator or as a speaker. And if you guys like the content, of course, please support us by subscribing and blasting that bell notification so that you get access to all these timeless interviews and learn some cool stuff with some cool people. Thank you so much, guys. See you next week, premiering at PC near you, 8 o'clock GMT. Take care, guys.